Super Bowl 57 aired on Sunday with the Kansas City Chiefs ultimately defeating the Philadelphia Eagles 38-35. And for most of our listeners, this is probably the first time you've heard any of that information.
Oh, no, I absolutely predicted that. The Kansas City whomevers up against the Philadelphia You Go Girls, I absolutely knew it would go down this way.
Welcome to Keep It, Cricket Media's show about pop culture and politics and what happens when they smack into each other at an alarming speed. I'm your host, Ira Madison III, a television writer and Fall Out Boy fan.
I'm Louis Fertel. I'm a TV writer and Jane Fonda historian.
Let's get into it.
Welcome back to another episode of Keep It. If you see me walking down the street and I start to cry each time we meet, could you walk on by? I'm Louis Fertel.
And I am Ira Madison III, and I am positive that birds do not appear every time I'm near.
That is a clinical issue. If that occurs in your romance, it has nothing to do with love. It's a hygiene thing. Yeah.
That is a scary song, Karen Carpenter. Okay? Like, birds suddenly appearing every time she sees this man. Run!
Yeah. They're out to get you. Jeez, yeah, wow. Yeah, Hitchcock, is he a credited co-writer on this? What's happening?
So Burt Bacharach died this week at the age of 94. Honestly, I did not know he was still alive.
It's pretty remarkable he was still alive because also Hal David, his main songwriting partner, he had a few over the years, including Carol Bayer Sager, with whom he won his third Oscar for Arthur's Theme, The Best That You Can Do. But Hal David also died at 91, but that was some time ago. So you would assume that Burt was like his age and that he'd be, 114 now. So, but he's not. But Burt was on my mind recently because there's a new Dionne Warwick documentary out on HBO Max. And a couple of things.
Is it about her tweeting?
Yes. It's called Dionne Warwick Touch Grass, and it's about how she needs to get off the computer.
The tweet that she sent out about Burt's passing was like so sweet and moving, and I was like, oh, this feels like the first tweet that Dionne Warwick has actually tweeted herself.
Right. Well, yeah, I don't know what in living color writer's room is on her Twitter. Yeah, it's very shocking. But I will say about that Dionne Warwick documentary, I wish it had come out 20 years ago because so many of the people that populated her time in popular music, are obviously gone now. There are a couple of, at the time, Burt Bacharach's in the documentary. Barry Gibb is in the documentary. A couple of relatives of her, like Cissy Houston, I think makes an appearance. But I really wish we had gotten this entire documentary years ago because Burt's story with Dionne is so integral to pop music. They have such an amazing relationship. You can YouTube videos of them literally working together on songs where he's like, Dionne, I've got another humdinger on my hands. And she goes, well, if it's too hard, you can just sing it. And like they have this fun back and forth. It's impossible to pick a favorite song of theirs. It's crazy to me still that American Idol would have Burt Bacharach weeks. This was an American sensation, and they would put on these, lilting melodies for kids in like Charlotte Russe crop tops to sing. It's still mind-boggling.
Okay, that is the thing that I was going to bring up because I feel like Burt Bacharach is a name that is, even if you don't really know everything about him, for people our age, you know that name because of American Idol, and it's so weird. I watched the season 2, top 5 do What the World Needs Now Is Love. Like, I watched that clip, and it was like a mind fuck. Watching like Clay Aiken walk out first, like Ruben back there. I was like, where are these people? And it's weird that we watched it every week.
Right.
And people were screaming. People screamed when like someone like hit a note.
Right. No, I don't know how they brainwashed us into, into this like kind of Eurovision-y thing that we were all obsessed with. And I guess still are. It's still like a popular network TV show. But the amount of fabulous songs. I had tweeted when he died that nobody made sentimentality seem sophisticated like Burt Bacharach. It wasn't just syrupy ballads. There was like some wit to everything he did. And a part of that is Hal David, his lyricist, writing a lot of those songs. I'm talking about Walk On By, I Say a Little Prayer. Anyone Who Had a Heart, Don't Make Me Over, which is also the name of that Dionne Warwick documentary. My favorite, Do You Know the Way to San Jose, which is secretly the bleakest song in existence because it has this light melody, but it's about how I failed at LA and I'm moving back to San Jose where I have, get ready, lots of friends. Oh, what could be bleaker? Oh. I've got lots of friends in San Jose. I'm going to go back there now and live in filth, live in my failure.
Make Way for Dionne Warwick is such a great album. And it's like, even looking at the cover, it's like, it's not even like the Dionne that we even remember from like when we were kids.
Yeah.
You know, she had such a transformation after that, you know, and the music is great. I know that a lot of people who are millennials probably were introduced to Burt Bacharach either through American Idol or through Austin Powers.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Burt Bacharach.
What the world needs now.
Yes, his sort of kitschy appearances in the Austin Powers movies.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. You know what song I really love? What's New Pussycat?
Oh, please. Tom Jones, I feel like we still are due for a little bit of a renaissance for how he has a powerful voice, but it's also just a kind of like hearty. There's a heartiness about Tom Jones that I think is not replicated much in pop music nowadays.
I'm always shocked when, like, I was at a gay club like a few weeks ago. Shocker. And Sex Bomb played, and like everyone knew the lyrics, and I was like, I know all of you were not watching the one season WB series Gross Point like I was.
Right.
Which had
Where did you get your
Sex
knowledge?
Bomb as the theme song.
Yeah.
So how does everyone know this song?
That is really puzzling, and good for you for being at whatever club that was.
Yeah. I truly think it was like I think it was Flaming Saddles in New York.
I guess it could be nowhere else. Yeah, that's really fabulous. You know what else I want to say about Burt Bacharach? I mean, he wrote Close to You for Carpenters. He wrote for Dusty Springfield, Tom Jones, as we just said. I think something I really love about their songwriting, apart from the wit of it and just the lightness of it, is they wrote for vocalists who were rarely belting. It was really about like people who interpreted a song, and they have an awesome voice, but you're literally listening to what they're saying in addition to listening to their voice. They really had a storytelling quality. And I think, like, for example, just to talk about Walk On By, a song we all know, that the sweetness of the melody and the hurt of that song, I think what resonates with me about that is what could be more relatable to life? Like, you feel a certain way, but you still have to put on a brave sing-song face to get through life. So that, like, juxtaposition of sweetness and sadness is, you know, how to be a person, how to like deal with things, how to go on with your life, how to walk on by, so to speak. So just second to none. He and Hal David are definitely up there with Lennon McCartney or Carole King and Jerry Goff, and just the absolutely essential songwriters that everybody should be somewhat familiar with. Literally look up Dionne Warwick's first greatest hits, which is, I think, exclusively Burt Bacharach songs. Trains and Boats and Planes, Are You There With Another Girl? There's fabulous songs there. I actually have a quick story about that. My friend Andrew and I, my friend Andrew's about 15 years older than I am, and I lived behind him in his guest house for 7 years when I was in LA. And on the weekends, we would go put on Dionne and go to some place like Forest Lawn Cemetery in Glendale or something where you can like walk around and talk. And one day we were driving to the Reagan Library with my dad in the car who was visiting. And of course, Andrew and I are like fagging out talking about Dionne Warwick. And we put on Are You There With Another Girl, which is about Dionne suspecting that her man is cheating. And she goes to his house. And anyway, Dionne's stalking him is what's happening in the song. It's a creepy song. And at some point, it gets to a point in the song where she goes, Are you there with another girl? And then this other vocal comes in that's like, bup, bup, bup. It's like a loud, high-pitched noise, and we're kind of making fun of it. And my dad goes, that's the voice they hear on her radio. Are you there with another girl? And she's talking about, I can hear the radio playing. You're playing the radio for some girl. Anyway, I just want you to know that I did not expect my dad to read us fucking Faggots for Filth about the dramaturgy of a Dionne Warwick song, and it sits poorly with me even now.
Not your dad gagging you over Dionne.
I know. I didn't think it would ever be me. Yeah.
I mean, truly, Burt Bacharach is like, that is the epitome of the Whitney meme, like songs like that tell stories that people can identify with. Children were singing these songs at weddings, graduations, on their way to the Ronald Reagan Library.
Which is a funeral to me, so yes.
Also, I have long wondered what the hell sparked your fascination with wandering around cemeteries, because you love doing it.
I did. Oh, during the pandemic, I would go to Forest Lawn and look for Clark Gable's grave. I can't explain it. I guess it was just mostly a way to be outside and walk around and have something to look at, as opposed to just running down the streets, which, by the way, is deranged behavior that I can't believe people still do.
Yeah. Okay. I love a cemetery. There was truly a cemetery across the street from my house in Milwaukee growing up. And so I used to hang out there all the time. People would jog there. In high school, I filmed a short film there.
I also did that in high school because I grew up in a town has a ton of churches in it, and therefore there are a ton of cemeteries there too. So you're always walking by one or something. In fact, Diablo Cody, who's from where I'm from, Lamont, Illinois, said you could almost judge the class of somebody by how close they lived to a cemetery in Lamont. The further away you got, the more maybe you were ritzy or something. Meanwhile, we were smashed up against tombstones, both of us.
Love those sock hops at the cemetery.
Sure. Yeah.
The
never
Monster
stumbled
on any mysteries, though.
Rarely. No. Yeah. The Great Pumpkin never appeared either. Yeah, it sucked.
Well, we have got a packed episode full of a lot of music chat.
True.
Rihanna is back.
Walking around. Yeah, she's walking around. I saw that.
Walk on by. She did that. The Super Bowl happened, and we're going to wade through all of the takes on Rihanna's big return to music. And then we're also going to get into another divisive topic in pop culture right now: sex scenes in movies and TV.
And is it really all of Gen Z that's upset about this, or is it secretly 6 people? I need somebody to do the hard journalism on this.
It's 6 people and Penn Badgley.
Okay, right. Oh, yes. Very stirring statement on Penn Badgley.
So we'll get into all of that. We'll be right back with more Keep It. Super Bowl 57 aired on Sunday with the Kansas City Chiefs ultimately defeating the Philadelphia Eagles 38-35. And for most of our listeners, this is probably the first time you've heard any of that information.
Oh, no. I absolutely predicted that. The Kansas City whomevers up against the Philadelphia You Go Girls, I absolutely knew it would go down this way.
Super Bowl 57. How many Oscars have we had?
We're now at 95.
Okay, so the Oscars have been going on longer than the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl is a surprisingly recent development in American culture. The Super Bowl began in 1967. It's very strange.
It's the 60s. What was going on in the 60s where they were like, you know what? We need a bigger game.
Yeah, I guess people got sick of, what would they have been watching then? Baseball and golf, I guess.
But we don't care about that shit anyway, because let me tell you something. As soon as Rihanna finished her concert, we started playing old Super Bowl halftime shows, which I feel like is what every gay viewing party does.
Right. Well, I actually made the mistake of watching all the other halftime shows in the days leading up to Rihanna, not doing the math that, of course, I'm going to be watching these afterwards too. But by the way, I don't know that was brilliant math on our part anyway, because when you compare the Rihanna show to almost any other show in recent memory, you will be coming up short. I'm sorry. Look, again, it's like the woman's pregnant. She hasn't performed regularly in a million years. She's like Gene Hackman at this point, which pops out of her shell once in a while with some weird book you don't want or whatever.
She is a little Willy Wonka-esque.
Yes. Yes, right.
Okay. Everyone, I can imagine her having a thing where there are golden tickets in Fenty makeup cases.
Oh, God.
And then she invites 5 people to the Fenty factory.
I need her to not get ideas like that, because let's put her back on the Billboard charts. I'm getting nervous. But look, I mean, she gave you the utter like ABBA gold of Rihanna hits. You know, there are a couple of notable exclusions. Like, I was surprised not to hear SOS at all, but I guess she's probably just sick of that.
No Pon de Replay.
No Pon de Replay. No If It's Lovin' That You Want, which you know was one of my secret faves. If she played that, I actually would have fallen out. That would have been crazy. But
I would agree. ABBA Gold is a apt description of it, because I will say this was more of a medley that I think we've ever gotten in recent memory for a Super Bowl performance. You know, even like Madonna, Beyonce, you know, like Shakira, J-Lo, Katy Perry, like there's at least one big song that feels like it gets more than 30 seconds.
Yes.
Where it's a centerpiece of it, you know, like, and Beyonce, you know, had the, that's the one we put on first, Adrian. You know, you had not just the Destiny's Child appearing, you know, but like there were different set pieces. I will say that visually, this was gorgeous.
To look at it.
I love the camera work.
Yes.
I love, like, it was beautiful. I love the dancers, but I would also say that this shit wasn't in different areas.
No,
okay?
it literally went up and down. That's what happened.
Yeah. There weren't different set pieces. There weren't costume changes. She was really just vibing. And listen, I'm not saying I expected anything more, because Rihanna has always been vibes.
Sure. No, she's like the premier vibe. Yes.
Yeah. Like, she comes, she hangs out, and we have a good time. You're not expecting to be wowed. You're not saying she's the best pop star ever. She's never been the best pop star ever.
Right. I know, but she's like,
the music has always been great and it dominates the charts, but she has never been like a performance beast.
No, she's not somebody who's like jumping in the air and landing in a split or anything like that. That said, I do feel like her fans went off the deep end defending this performance, generally speaking, because they're like, I just don't think it's an amazing defense to be like, well, if you're not used to being underwhelmed, you're not a fan of hers, or whatever the fuck they're saying. It's like, well, that's not good news either. I don't know. Because also, she's done plenty of great performances before. You know, like she's, the amount of AMAs performances, she's been great, or VMAs.
The VMA Vanguard is my favorite performance of hers.
Yes, I agree.
It's just like there were three different components. It felt like amped up. There was a lot of energy. I've rewatched it and I enjoyed it. But I will say, upon rewatch, like, I was ready to turn it off before it ended.
Yes, I've watched it twice, and the second time I wasn't finding new and interesting things to look at or anything. But it's like you said, like if you look at Madonna's halftime show, altogether, including 2 snippets like of "Open Your Heart and Express Yourself," there are only 6 songs in that. You know, it's like she does like all of "Give Me All Your Lovin'," which, you know, she will pay for her crimes eventually. But but like in this Rihanna, you got way more than that. And so I was talking to a friend of mine, and he said, "What songs do you think will like top the iTunes or whatever, the Apple Music charts, Spotify charts after this?" And I actually didn't know. I guessed that Diamonds, because it ended the medley, would be the big one. I guess the biggest percentage jump was "Bitch Better Have My Money," which makes sense because it's probably the least popular. Opened it. Yeah, and opened with it.
I can see that because she opened it, and also I think that no one was really expecting that song.
Right, yeah.
Just because it's the Super Bowl and they're always angry about anything, you know, but I thought that was a great opener. I thought that grabbed us all, and I was like, oh, this is going to be hot.
Right.
Because like the lyrics also work, you know, like "Don't Act Like You Forgot," like, you know, like "Turn Up to Rihanna," like that feels like an anthem for her. The one I was shocked about too was not because of the Kanye of it all, but like I was shocked about "All the Lights," just because I was like, oh, she remembered that song.
Well, it also was a little bit harrowing at that point because there were no features yet, so you were wondering like, oh, is he going to come front handspringing on out, you know, with a shout to Jesus or whatever. So,
but I knew Jay-Z wasn't letting that man anywhere near his Super Bowl.
Right. Yes. No. Jay-Z.
I was shocked.
I think Jay-Z was walking the perimeter, making sure he wasn't there, though. Yeah.
That's why Jay didn't jump on for any of his features with Rihanna. He was making sure Kanye did not show up.
He was in the lighthouse. Yeah. Look it out.
overall, I'm excited to have Rihanna back, but it didn't feel like a return. It felt someone described it as a retirement.
Oh no,
right?
Not a repology, not the RuPaul universe of verbiage. Yeah.
But didn't it feel like she was like elder stateswoman, like here's some of those hits you love. Now goodbye.
I will say she did look sensational. The minute she hit the stage, I'm like, I love the sartorial shout out to Andre Leon Talley, which loved to hear that. And he was so into her too. So that's such a fun little pop cultural moment. But I mean, she didn't do anything on stage I didn't know she was capable of. And I'm not saying she has to like jump through a ring of fire or anything, but it didn't feel like there was a moment of real ingenuity there. Like if you look at like the Shakira J-Lo performance, and I don't mean to compare the performance styles of like Rihanna to Olympic decathlete J-Lo, who will fully, like pole vault over whatever, Cuba.
Or Bionic Woman Shakira.
Yes. Oh yeah, Bionic Woman Shakira. But like in those performances, they both found like weird moments to like J-Lo suddenly do a really Spanish-oriented dance, or Shakira like doing a shout out to Led Zeppelin. There's just like interesting artistic pangs in there. And I also want to say about that performance, having two performers is, I think, a pretty awesome mix, because then they get to volley between each other. And so you're always caught off guard a little bit, and there's like a fun suspense to whatever's going on. Not that I don't like the Katy Perry or the Beyonce years or whatever, but just the idea that there's something a little unique about the moment, that it's two people who've never been together on a stage before. And of course, once upon a time, you'd see more of this at the Super Bowl with like Janet Jackson and NSYNC swinging in. But I think just two performers is a pretty ideal thing.
I want to throw back next year to sort of like the Aerosmith with NSYNC, Britney, Mary J. Blige, and Nelly. Like, give us a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Because I sort of feel like we have a lot of pop stars right now who can't really carry a show with like a mass amount of hits, except like maybe an Usher. And I will say, fuck the people who were sort of trying to like discredit Usher after the show, being like, he doesn't have the hits to do the Super Bowl. Are you kidding?
Excuse me? Who does then? It's been like 25 years.
He's got nothing but hits and like so many number ones.
Right. I'm trying to contrive what I believe will be the medley coming up. Like if it's, first of all, it feels strange that Pink has never done it. One, because of the amount of hits. And two, I just feel like she has beaten up a cheerleader at some point. So I feel like she belongs at the Super Bowl.
I think Pink culturally, though, I feel like if Pink is there, it's with someone else.
Yes. I wonder who that would be. Someone
who would bring out Pink.
Usher and Pink? That doesn't not speak to me.
Yeah. I feel like someone like I don't know her vibe with Taylor Swift, but I feel like I try to think about who would fit with Taylor. And I'm like, if Taylor finally, and I know they were courting Taylor for this Super Bowl as well. If Taylor did the Super Bowl next year and Pink came out, I think that'd be a little iconic.
Could be. Taylor, I feel like would inevitably do it on her own though, right?
I know she loves women empowerment. I think that she would have like some other women on stage with her for at least one moment.
Oh, I would love it if she did like a night of 100 stars, like introducing woman after woman, like she did on that old tour. Like, here comes Joan Baez again, or whoever the fuck she was obsessed with at that moment.
Lady Smith Black Mambazo appears.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. She's going to take us to Graceland.
But also, this was such a weird year, too, because I didn't really give a fuck about any other commercials. I think I'm over Super Bowl commercials.
Well, it is just that weird feeling of, do you think because you spend $200 million that the commercial will suddenly be funnier? I assure you that's not the case. It is always a puzzling mix. Like you can see like, oh, they're going to put Brie Larson and John Hamm together and say Hamm and Brie. It's like, is this supposed to be iconic because it's words? It just doesn't add up to anything for me. I mean, it's just the grossest, most corporate moment in popular culture that we all find a way to be obsessed with via one form or another. For the queers, it's the halftime show, but everything else just feels like loud and unseemly.
And they used to be fun. I will say Super Bowl commercials like have always been expensive, but they used to be fun. And You know, not to be one of these old people, but like you used to not see the Super Bowl commercial until the Super Bowl.
Oh, totally. Right. Everything's leaked beforehand.
Yeah. And then they really started like dropping them online before. And then I'm like, who cares? You know? And none of them really feel as fun and innovative, you know, as like throwing some Doritos in a dryer at the laundromat, you know?
Right.
That's fun.
Also, I think just because commercials are sort of like a lost language now, if it doesn't have the same impact to watch commercials anymore, like what is this show in between? It just, it feels old hat, you know. That said,
honestly, someone should drop like a music video during the Super Bowl or something.
Yeah, that'd be
like
nice.
Instead of a commercial.
My brother Jim acquainted me with the fact that once upon a time in the middle of the Super Bowl, we wouldn't watch the halftime show. We would go and watch the new episode of In Living Color on another network.
Yes. Okay. Yes. I do remember that like Fox or like other networks like used to drop like a Super Bowl, I think mid Super Bowl. And also Lost is the art of debuting a show after the Super Bowl. Remember like the big Alias episode where they made a point of like she was doing spy shit, but like in lingerie on a plane this time because it was like, oh, we got to lure in the men.
Right. Tits out for the boys, etc. No, something that always blows my mind is that the Wonder Years, which is among the like quietest dramedy sensations of all time, it debuted immediately after the Super Bowl. What a crazy thing to watch. Like, it's a 12-year-old in 1968 whose crush loses her brother in Vietnam. Like, that's what we're watching after the Super Bowl. It's so bizarre.
I mean, now speaking of like Super Bowl commercials that really got me horny, like they always, you know, they gotta court men.
Right.
Jesus.
Oh my God. They had all these commentators on the Super Bowl, but nobody was more opinionated than Jesus. Oh my God.
Jesus opened her purse, okay? And let me tell you something. Usually I hate when people are repeating the same take on Twitter where it's like, okay, this isn't an original thought, and you're just like writing it. When people kept saying, well, if the church can afford this much money for a Super Bowl commercial, they can afford to pay taxes, and everyone like posting that like it was an original thought.
Yeah, right.
I do agree.
Mind you, this was some like weird organization, right? Like that has like anti-LGBT ties, even though the messaging of some of this was Jesus gets everybody, not just, you know, the same people you think he gets.
Well, he got Josh Bassett this week.
I am upset because he is in. Josh Bassett is caught in God's butterfly net, and I need him to get out of it.
It's kind of gag worthy, though, getting baptized by a homophobic megachurch.
Megachurch. Like, you can hear the words, right? They're horrible together. It's just like, it's apocalyptic sounding.
He's been, you know, running ever since that accidental coming out, you know? And it's hilarious. I love how all roads always lead back to Harry Styles, but literally it was like him saying on like a live interview that he thought Harry Styles was hot. And that's how he outed himself. And that will never not be funny to me.
Right. And now maybe because of that, we will always see Harry Styles in spangled vests.
It will also never not be funny that the next day he canceled his appearance on Keep It.
Oh, right. Oh, that's right. I totally forgot that.
He came out the day before he was supposed to appear on the show, and then that ended.
It's almost like he doesn't think we're inviting queer, you know, mentors, which really bothers me. What the fuck else are we?
He did not want us to be all up in his business like a Wendy interview, okay?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Because certainly we would have bullied him. You know how that goes with us, how we treat our guests. Also,
by the way, I got the Mariah lyric wrong. It's the 2009 Harvard graduating class from her song that I referenced last week, you know, not 2010. So shout out to the person who bothered me about it in my mentions.
Oh. Which, by the way, Mariah Carey has never done a Super Bowl halftime show. Wouldn't recommend it now, but that would have been sweet once upon a time.
I would definitely recommend it now. It'd be so funny.
I mean, I would hope she would, first of all, never stand up. Just fully sitting on a tuffet the entire time, you know, carried around, you know, people feeding her grapes, Mae West style and all that.
I mean, but by the way, all the Super Bowl is lip synced anyway, so she'd sound great.
That's true. By the way, though, how much of Rihanna's thing was lip synced?
Well, per NFL policy, all halftime rehearsals are re-recorded and played back during the show as a safety net. So the performer sings over it as little or as much as they like. But like when people were accusing Queen Shirley Ralph of lip syncing, I'm like, baby, Whitney's Super Bowl performance was lip sync.
It sure
was. She sang over a recorded track, because it's cold as fuck out there.
Right. No, even I believe when the Dixie Chicks did the national anthem, that was lip synced, which it doesn't look like that at all. So, you have to open your eyes and your minds to think about how the acoustics of these things work.
People also need to learn exactly what lip syncing is, because like there's a difference between Milli Vanilli,
right,
and like you're singing over a track that you've already recorded.
Right. Can I just say, by the way, about Milli Vanilli? The haters are jealous because the bops were bops. I'm sorry. Baby, don't forget my number. Mother, excuse me. You're in the car. It's a good time. And blame it on the rain, etc. Girl, you know it's true. I could go on and on. Actually, I couldn't. They don't have that many hits, but yeah.
They were ahead of their time, is what they were. Okay?
Yeah, right.
Who would give a fuck about two people lip syncing right now?
Also, do you know what I want to say is actually secretly the funniest thing about Milli Vanilli? Like, so, okay, they couldn't sing, so you would think, oh, it's in the service of, incredible showmanship. The dancing is so fucking bad. The dancing is hilariously awful. like for instance, like Paula Abdul, that's somebody who would lip sync almost any time she got on a stage. Paula is like popping and locking and, puts on the blazer and leotard and gets down with it. Milli Vanilli, I believe they had hats.
That's a biopic I want.
Yes,
honestly,
truly.
Like the fact that someone was like, we're gonna put these two up here.
They're like despairing as they put it together. Like, I guess it's these two. Rob and Fab.
And then it's a hit.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it's almost like the producers. It's a hit that it's like, well, we got to keep this going.
Yeah. I continue to be confused about their downfall because the way legend says it precipitated, they were doing some live performance and the tape they were singing to started skipping. Like you can look this up on YouTube. Like, and it goes like, girl, you know it's, girl, you know it's, girl, you know it's. And they eventually just leave the stage, like pretending, I don't know what, trying to get away from it. But tons of people lip sync. Like the Madonna VMA performance of Vogue is lip synced. If that started skipping, I wouldn't think, oh, Madonna has no merit whatsoever. So I don't know the exact moment, they decided.
But I feel like the real person had to have come out, because the thing about Milli Vanilli is like, it wasn't even their voices.
No, not even close. Absolutely not.
It was very Singing in the Rain.
Yeah.
Okay?
That'd be amazing if they talked like Gene Hagen. Just like, we gotta get this back. Yeah.
The Girl You Know Is True video is actually what Diego Calva watches at the end of Babylon. So it's why he's crying.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And he's right. Yeah. Hollywood is magic.
This week, Penn Badgley, star of the searing documentary You.
Yes. Which you were in as a documentarian yourself.
Yeah, my greatest role.
Michael Moore, I would argue Michael Less.
I'm still waiting for the actors on Actors Invite. Yeah.
You and Annette Bening. She's like, who the fuck are you?
Penn broke his silence this week about how sex scenes in movies have sort of ruined the sanctity of marriage.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. What would encourage someone to be so brave? No, listen. He basically said to you showrunner Sarah Gamble, who we've had on Keep It. I love Sarah. He said, "Can I just do no more intimacy scenes?" And Sarah, who's a lovely person, of course said, yes. She's not going to force an actor to do sex scenes. I don't know many showrunners who aren't monsters who would, unless you're a Sean Cody model coming to the director and being like, you know what? No more sex scenes. I'm married. I can get agreeing with the actor. But I still feel like that is a normal decision that was then compounded by weirdness of him saying it was to protect the sanctity of his marriage.
Right. I saw one comment online that I felt was most true, which is Did he get caught cheating? And now he's doing these extra steps to, really be in the relationship, show he's committed. And this extra step is, sort of compensatory. It feels very compensatory.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I am thinking about when Melissa Reeves on Days of Our Lives had an affair with the actor who played Peter Blake. And her husband basically removed her from the show.
Wow.
And she eventually came back, but that actor has never been on the show since.
Wow, real life soap dish shit going on here.
Yeah.
Kathy Moriarty, show yourself.
So that's what it sounded like, but this brings up a bigger conversation that is being had online. And as we said in our intro, this could just be like 6 people having this conversation, because what happens is a Gen Z person with like 500 followers will tweet something, and then someone with 100,000 followers will retweet it and argue with them, and then they'll blow it up.
Right.
But
it's a quote tweet based anger. Yes.
Yeah. But there is this sort of conversation happening now about whether or not sex scenes in movies and TV are invasive.
Or, essential to the plot is, I feel like, something people argue a lot. To which I say, you know what else isn't essential to a movie? Jokes. Like lots of things that aren't essential to understanding the narrative of a movie make the movie what it is. Make the movie the thing you want to watch. Guess what's actually boring? Most stories. We've heard every story. I don't need to service the story and the story alone in order to be entertained. It's like the frills and the artfulness of whatever else is being done that's interesting, and routinely that's sex scenes.
Yeah, I feel like the one thing we could actually use less of in movies is plot.
Yes. Oh, please. Again, I mean, like, I've talked excessively about the movie Metropolitan, but basically there is no story. It's people hanging out, and then people get mad at certain people, and then people have crushes on other people, and then we move on from there.
It's all vibes,
Yes.
And that's what we need more of in movies, and less of less of this reintroduction of, I guess, like the Hays Code.
It felt like these people really were like, oh, I loved when we finally regulated content hardcore and, deleted all the racy shit.
We're going to put people on TV back to sleeping in separate beds like Lucy and Ricky.
Oh, yeah. Real Mike and Carol Brady shit. Yeah. People who don't own toilets.
Did they not have a toilet in the Brady Bunch?
I forget what show was the first to show one, but like the movie Psycho was the first movie to show.
Oh, that's right, because it literally showed a toilet flushing. And Psycho, by the way, is a fantastic film. Maybe my favorite Hitchcock. And the things that Hitchcock does in this movie to break the Hays Code specifically is fantastic. Like, every aspect of that movie is about fuck you to the Hays Code, which was a self-imposed code of conduct that Hollywood inflicted on itself in the midst of people feeling that, sexual mores were like out of control, etc. Like very like Babylon era. We came out of the jazz age being too sexy, and then people were like, dial it back. But it's the toilet. It starts literally with Marion having an extramarital affair, which is a no-no.
Right. Please don't do that.
Janet Leigh is naked in the shower. You can't even show women in their underwear. She's in her underwear on the poster for the film too.
Right. Tony Perkins has a gorgeous pencil neck, which is essentially queer, even if the character is not. And yet no ass, which is essentially not queer. So anyway, he's breaking boundaries left and right.
Yeah, stealing money, that's a crime, Anyway.
Ooh, John Gavin in that movie, so hot. Anyway.
Honestly, I do enjoy the ways that the movie sort of like steps outside of what was allowed in cinema then. I don't think we need to bring the Hays Code back, but, I think we need to bring some inventiveness back,
That makes sense to me. Yes.
Yeah. Otherwise, every movie's just going to be Jordan Firstman giving a blowjob on camera. Shout out to Sundance.
Oh yeah, right. So Jordan Firstman, who's a queer comic, who I guess has not been on Keep It. Am I wrong?
No,
he's like a gay guy we know. Yeah.
Yeah, we know.
He's in a movie at Sundance where he gets like a real life blowjob. I'm sure you're now thinking of that Chloe Sevigny movie, Brown Bunny. Yes, Vincent Gallo, and the absolutely scorching review from Roger Ebert at the time about it. But yeah, that's because I remember also when I was in college that movie Short Bus coming out, which had some real sexuality going on in it. And I guess what's unusual about that movie is that we didn't end up seeing a lot more like that. That it still became too risky for people to really, embark in crazy sexual situations. Jordan Firstman gave a quote about it being like, well, I'm a gay guy. If there's a dick nearby, I put it in my mouth. It doesn't mean much to me. It's not precious to me or whatever. And, confrontational take, maybe not everybody's take. But at the same time, you would think there would be like maybe 4 movies a year that were like that,
Yeah. I feel like there was a period too where like gays were making like independent films that were sort of like story but also porn. I feel like there were like 1 or 2 of those that came out like a few years ago or something, like early like 2013 or something. But it really feels like that is a thing that you get to the brink of and 1 or 2 people do it and then you move on from it because it's just sort of like it's not really marketable.
Yeah. And maybe it's not even sexy either. Do you know what it kind of reminds me of? Do you remember that Brian McKnight album he put out where he's explicitly singing about sex?
Yes.
I forget what the words were, but you just realize after a while, like, I do not need to hear you saying anatomical terms for things that are going into other things during sex to get through the song.
Unless it's Lil' Kim.
Right. That's different. You see, but that's like attitudinal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like you're getting around like kind of abject sincerity with that. I personally think we're in the market for one great, I don't know about unsimulated gay sex scene, but a memorable gay sex scene. I still think the one in Bros last year where like Billy gets it on with, I think, a couple of people. There's a very funny 3-way scene in that was a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Because there are parts of sex that I feel like we don't have a lot of conversation about, literally the moment-to-moment things in sex that occur that are sometimes funny or sometimes, leave somebody out or whatever. Yeah. There's like lots of things to explore in those moments that I don't think we've seen much of. So I'm interested in that.
I think sex is, just kind of boring on TV right now. TV and film. With the White Lotus rim job scene is maybe like the most exciting thing we've had in like years. What are we doing here?
Yeah, right. And also that's exciting because it's just a reveal behind a door, right? Like we don't expect to see it and then like, bam, nudity.
But like,
it's more a gag than a scene.
But remember how unsexy the 50 Shades movies were?
Oh my God, imagine thinking about those movies. I felt like they were, first of all, lit like a Panera. And then second of all, the unmistakably non-chemistry between the 2 leads.
Okay, not too much on Panera.
No, hey, nothing wrong with Panera, please.
I was in some random American city. I don't remember which one, like a couple of years ago or so. And there was a Panera around. So my friend and I got lunch there. And as we were paying, I was like, oh, wait, I still have a Panera membership. And I gave her my phone number.
Oh, my God. Not you scanning into Panera.
All right, well, we're back. Keep it. And we're back for our favorite segment of the episode. It's Keep It. I'm going to go first because my Keep It is very pressing. We're recording this on Valentine's Day.
Right. You can feel it in the air, obviously. Yes.
Valentine's Day used to mean something. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Like, remember at school, the heteronormative task of writing a Valentine to everybody? I think one year, actually, I redrew Goosebump book covers and made personalized Valentines for everyone in my 4th grade class.
That is amazing. As in you would trace the font on the cover and stuff?
Yeah. And I used to draw like on like little comic books and things in like 4th and 5th grade. And I would hand them out to people as gifts.
Oh, that's very adorable and thoughtful. What happened to that instinct? Do you think it was just squashed by the cruelty of life, or what?
Probably.
Okay, yeah.
Or I found drugs.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
You became satisfied. Yes.
I was a 6th grade tweaker. But
my favorite R.L. Stine book. Yes. Go ahead.
What happened to the importance of Valentine's Day, where it felt like novel expressing your love for someone, you know?
Sure.
This morning I woke up and obviously I am inundated with Instagrams of lovers, being like, this is my husband, I've loved him for several years, or like, the best year with this man, etc.
Pointing, this guy, all that, yeah.
Here's the thing. If you post like that 265 days a year, then it's not special on Valentine's Day, okay?
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
If so many people posting a series of photos with their boyfriend or with their girlfriend or whoever, it's like, okay, you do this every day.
Right. Unfortunately, if people participate avidly on social media and they're in a relationship, inevitably their relationship is a big part of their brand, which means that any expression of sincerity is unfortunately wrapped up in the whole thing they like to promote about themselves. Ultimately, sincerity is going to feel schmaltzy and false always because it's what they produce. It's their content.
Mm-hmm. Was love always a brand? I don't mean to feel like Carrie Bradshaw here, but was it always a brand, or was the like celebrity gossip and on like the brandification of our personalities through social media turned dating someone into a personality?
Right. I think I only appreciate these kinds of posts from celebrity couples where they're both truly celebrities. That is fun to see. This is a day for Ted Danson and Mary Steenburgen. Mm-hmm. It's not a day for this person I follow because he does CrossFit tips and then his boyfriend, maybe will get into acting someday.
Yes, or the boyfriend who you've definitely had sex with before and the husband who you've never met.
Yes, right. I had a whole bit on Kimmel about this. There's the one with the abs and the one with the job. Yes. Yeah.
But the Ted Danson and Mary Steenburgen thing is very apt because I feel like a lot of couples that, being a couple is their brand online is there's not much going on with either of them individually. It's like, I don't know what job either of you do. I don't know your interests. You seem to just do things. You seem to just appear together.
Right. Your whole relationship is a play for a platform, which enjoy that. Hope it lasts. Bet it won't.
Yeah. And you know what? The difference is that you and I, we're simply not boring.
How do we tell people how hard it is to be fascinating? How do we move on being these people?
Louis, this is my longest relationship.
Yeah, I know. Jesus. You know what? I don't hate that observation, and it speaks to me because guess what? I'm not doing dating.
And you know what? Listen, you and I have tried some polyamory before. We've had thirds. We've had thirds on the show, but
some less selfish than others. Yes,
and now we're strictly monogamous. I love it.
Yes, right. That's true. No, that's we found a resolve. Yes. I'm the more domestic one, ultimately. There's always one.
We're just saying this so people start talking about our relationship on Reddit like they talk about the Pod Save boys.
Oh, right. Guys, they're nice straight people. And then Jon, Lovett is gay. That's all that's going on there. I mean, it's not that fascinating. I know them well. They're like the nice cousins you see at Thanksgiving. Yeah.
All right, Louis. What's your keep it?
You know what? This is not going to make me look good. I feel bad about this keep it. But this, stirred up a lot of controversy a couple months ago. And good controversy. I was happy it happened. But I, unfortunately, have to give my keep it to Jeanne Dielman, 23K du Commerce 1080 Bruxelles, which is not how you say that. It's a French movie. But it's the Chantal Akerman movie that came in first in the Sight and Sound all-time poll. We decided it was, better than Citizen Kane and Vertigo and all the movies that dominate this list. So I saw it recently in the Arrow here in LA. Great theater. Ran into some of my favorite critics. Alonso Duralde, was happy to see him. Christy Lemire, whom I've followed since she momentarily took over for Ebert and Roper. Loved talking with them. This movie is... Do you know what this movie is about?
Mm-hmm.
It's a 3-hour movie of a woman basically doing day-to-day, moment-to-moment tasks. It's not a real-time movie, but it's supposed to feel real-time. Mm-hmm. And she's going through her life, making food, shopping, feeding her son. And then something at the end occurs that switches everything up. You're watching her routine fall apart very slightly. Like there's some slight decay going on in her day-to-day life. If this movie were an hour and 45, I'd be like, all right, this is a player for, I don't know about best of all time, but like a 4-star movie. I understand that the monotony of the movie is the point, and it's artistically satisfying in that way, like what it goes for, what it establishes about the rhythms of life and why one would need to interrupt that with, maybe a shocking surge of some kind. But man, it is fucking tough. I mean, it is just like it's also like you get it. You get the point, and it's fun to talk about afterwards, but beyond that, I don't know that it plays with any of the things that make cinema typically great. And I feel like even if there was like some amazing dialogue or some amazing other character in the movie or something, I might be more willing to sincerely consider it among like an all-time classic or something, but it's just not the best movie of all time. It's a crazy thing to say about this movie.
Now, wouldn't you say that the monotony and there being no jokes and no other interesting characters is what women think every day when they're working in the home? And maybe that, Louis, is the point of the film.
This comment, what you just said right now, is why Chantal Akerman isn't with us anymore. She's like, I have to get out of here.
When you think about it, Jeanne Dielman is the A Simple Favor of the 1970s.
Wow.
She's Anna Kendrick doing her monotony on Instagram Live, and the disruption at the end is Blake Lively.
I can't believe I never thought of it that way before. Sorry, I'm not on serious hard drugs, so I, of course, never thought of it that way before. Delphine Seyrig gives an affectless, excellent performance. I think my friend Chris also put it well about this movie. It's basically a trick that can be played once, which is you get the point of it afterwards, and you receive it, and it sits with you, but ultimately it's one long gimmick. I would call it a gimmick of a movie.
I would actually say what's interesting about the film is that it's this slice of life thing from the 70s, right? And David Lynch plays with this a lot in, Twin Peaks and his films, playing on sort of like old soap operas of the time. And I feel like the original soap operas, which women would watch in the household, right? From like the 60s and 70s. When I watch like old clips of like Days of Our Lives from like 1967 or something, they are really boring slice of life stories. And it feels like it is taking this to like a cinematic exploration of that.
Do you know what I was watching clips of recently? The TV show Peyton Place, which had Mia Farrow and Ryan O'Neal. And it's fascinating because they're going to obviously turn into much different actors over the next years. But to see them in sort of conventional TV form is so surprising because Mia became one of our, most interesting movie stars of the 70s and 80s.
You know what's so interesting about Peyton Place, too? It was created by Grace Metalis, who once there was this interview John Waters gave of like his icons and like his books and like his literary people. It was like her, like Lillian Hellman, Fran Lebowitz, or whatever. And he said that like Grace, who did Peyton Place, like her story's amazing because like as soon as she got fame, she left her husband, took to martinis, became an alcoholic, bought Cadillacs, and moved to the Plaza Hotel in New York and committed suicide.
Perfection. Finally, someone gets it. Jesus Christ. Oh, speaking of Fran Lebowitz, do you know what I am obsessed with right now?
No, what?
Fran Lebowitz, from time to time, appears on like a morning show, like CBS News. The shows that are called things like that. Every fucking time, whoever is responsible for introducing the interview segment says something like this: "No matter what happens, Fran Lebowitz is talking," or it's always some like, "At the end of the day, whether you agree with her or don't agree with her, she'll be speaking." It's just like, what? Like, It's also like, it's one of those things where she doesn't have a lot of biographical information you can really talk about. Like, she only has the 2 books, and, you know, like, she worked for Interview Magazine, whatever. But ultimately, you have to be like, there she goes again with one of her opinions. It's so funny.
Who's doing these interviews? Sarah Polley?
No. This
Fran
time
Lebowitz was talking.
Yes. In this case, it was Mo Rocca, who, by the way, I sometimes forget, has led my ideal life, which is he was a Daily Show correspondent, and now he does things like interview actresses for a living. I saw Mo Rocca interviewing Brenda Vaccaro once about an afternoon she spent with Barbara Streisand and Sandy Dennis. Bitch, that's my look.
I actually do foresee a future for you where you talk with older actresses just about like an afternoon in their lives.
Right. And then, you know, somebody responsible who has the patience adapts that into like a 90-minute film stars don't die in Liverpool type movie.
Yeah. He's really what I always remember Mo Rocca just because he's one of the people who we sort of, our generation sort of grew up with via like VH1.
Right. Yes. Because those talking head shows needed the one, you know, queer-ish guy.
When you think about it, we are sort of the best week ever hosts of our generation.
I mean, that is the nicest thing anything will ever say about me, and I understand you're talking about us, ourselves, but I'm going to go ahead and accept that compliment we gave ourselves because I don't aspire to anything else.
Who are like the original best week ever hosts? Like, who would you and I be?
Was it Paul F. Tompkins and who else was on that show? But you're talking about just the talking heads and like all those I Love the 80s shows.
The people who
like Michael Ian Black and stuff.
Yeah.
I think I might be Rachel Harris, who wore glasses and had a sort of like Garofalo light vibe.
I think I sort of have like a Gary Cole thing about me. Just sort of like maybe angry all the time, but sometimes sweet.
I forgot Gary Cole would be on that.
Yeah. Everybody did like I Love the 80s.
Yes.
It's truly fascinating. I feel like you got like Beyonce to do it at one point.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. They had footage of everybody somehow. They'd ask him about, you remember a Rubik's Cube, don't you? Get in the studio. But no, for a moment, in the summer, you would go crazy with your friends because, yes, Hal Sparks is talking about whatever, Duran Duran. What a crazy moment we all had.
And now we have TikTok, which is the wild, wild west. And let me tell you, what we need like VH1 or somebody get on TikTok and give us some official, things like that again. I don't want to hear some random teenager talking about what a Rubik's Cube is because they'll probably be describing something else.
Right. Right. Misinformation.
It's unfact-checked.
Wow, you're right. Now in retrospect, I Love the 80s feels like journalism. Like, actually, like it has more sources than the average, BuzzFeed article. It basically does count.